it's Katie here for Shiny Media, and I am here with Tim Ferriss, writer of the 4-Hour Workweek book, which is coming to the UK very soon. I've already read it because I am lazy and want to know how to not work as hard as other people. So I've got some really quick questions for you. Most Brits are very cynical, so describing yourself as an ultra-vagabond on your bio is likely to put the backs up a few Brits. How are you coping with this? How are you intending to win over the cynicism of Brits?
The cynical British market?
Yeah.
So the San Francisco alpha geek market is also very, very cynical. The way that I would win them over is just by saying that, first of all, it's not like 6-minute abs, so it's not intended to be a get rich quick or anything like that. I have no desire to be a guru. It's based on guest lectures that I've been giving at Princeton since 2003 in electrical engineering and high-tech entrepreneurship, and various experiments in about 15 countries looking at how to test the assumptions of work, life, career, and so forth, whether that's mini retirements or outsourcing life with personal outsourcing, virtual assistants, things like that. And that, let's say you have 15 chapters and let's say 100 different options for testing assumptions. I don't expect anyone to take them all. So even though I do tango in South America and cage fighting Berlin and all this ridiculous stuff, I don't expect
likely
people
to annoy people.
Likely to annoy a lot of people all around the world, and I don't expect them to duplicate that. Just to look at time as a currency that you can manage and something that you can reclaim.
After all, not everyone can be as gifted as you.
Well, some people can be a lot more gifted. I mean, in the sense that, I screw up a lot of things, and in the testing, certainly a lot of things fail. But the book is a collection of case studies, so it's not the Tim Ferriss show, I would say.
It's very good. Okay, so outsourcing to the third world.
Yes.
So is it strictly ethical to get people to do all your work for you on low pay while you swan around having fun?
So,
It's a very common question, and it's one that is to be expected since so many politicians use it as a soapbox for getting on television. The reality is you need to consider something called purchasing power parity, or otherwise known as the Big Mac Index. So for $10, someone in Bangalore can purchase a week's worth of food, week's worth of groceries. And I'm paying them generally, let's say, $5 to $15 per hour. So let's just say $10 an hour. That means that for 1 hour's worth of wages, they can buy a week's worth of food.
Yeah.
I would challenge anyone in the UK who's in a white-collar job or in the US to be able to say the same thing. So on a position of relative income, we're talking about a white-collar office task. So there's no slave labor, no exploitation, no one running around a Nike factory barefoot involved.
But how many hours a week are they doing for you? More than 4?
Oh, certainly. I mean, they're doing more than 4 hours, but it's elective. It's not that that's their only option.
Right.
It's that is their best option.
Who do they outsource to? If they want to go skiing.
If they want to go skiing, it sounds like a funny question, but it's a good question. So it depends on the economic conditions. So if you look at the weakening of the dollar, you actually find in some cases you'll outsource to, say, Filipinos, who then outsource to Indians, or Indians who then outsource some of it to Romanians.
Right.
So it depends a lot on the strength of the currency and how much money that person's making. Okay. But I think that the protectionism that the U.S. is inclined to embrace because of the current recession is exactly what preceded the Great Depression. But I think that if you look at it in a different light, you're actually creating consumers for U.S. and British products. You're creating a middle class.
Well, I believe. When everyone's working 4 hours each week, are there going to be enough humans to cover?
That's where the robots come in. No,
is that the next book?
Right, the 0-hour work week. Why you need a robot. You can also argue that books on entrepreneurship shouldn't be published because what if everyone's self-employed, then no one would have employees. And of course that's not going to come to pass. But the 4-hour work week is not intended to be taken entirely literally, although there are people in the book, case studies, who have reached that point. But I think if people focus on output, if they focus on performance instead of presence, instead of logging hours, which is a necessity in a digital world where you have the potential for infinite minutia and infinite interruption, and where most time management approaches just don't scale. You can't add more hours. You can't check email every 5 to 1 minute, 30 seconds and have any semblance of productivity. That alternatives are needed. And the book is all about just exploring and testing alternatives.
Okay. Puritan in me
Yes.
thinks that it's wrong to do less work and have more fun.
Mm-hmm.
How do I overcome that?
Okay, so to answer your question, there is nothing wrong with work per se, as long as it is in some respect gratifying and important, however you define that. So I'm very active, whether that's restructuring science and math education in the U.S. or building schools in foreign countries to increase literacy. The underlying premise is that the primary purpose of life is to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that part of enjoying life is creating a sense of meaning. And one of the vehicles for that is work. But when life becomes subservient to work, that is a problem.
Yeah.
And that you can have the Protestant ethic, the puritanical work ethic, as long as it's applied to the right things.
Okay, fair enough. Do all your staff bitch about you behind your back while you're skiing and they're making you money?
No, actually, my staff...
or are they all working 4-hour work weeks?
Well, I really encourage them and condition them and train them from the outset to focus all of their effort on output and not hours. So the fact that I reward them financially, whether they put in 2 hours or 200 hours, mm-hmm. I think is appealing to the type of person that I want to be involved with.
Okay, so you're not bothered if they go wandering off for the day as long as they've done their work?
I have no concern whatsoever. I have milestones and I have deliverables and deadlines, and as long as they meet those, I'll pay them. I don't care whether they're taking their kids to the movies on a Wednesday afternoon.
Okay, fair enough. I'm torn between wanting to tell the world about this book and wanting to keep it to myself as a secret so they won't know when I'm doing voodoo on them. What do you say to that?
I would say that the book is really about looking at different currencies, let's say income, time, and mobility, but also reframing your perspectives. So if you did everything in my book, mm-hmm. and 80% of the people in, let's say, the UK did everything in my book, it would not decrease the effectiveness.
Right.
So
if I go into my office and they'll be like, I know what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You're mm-hmm. trying to discover work.
I think that the best answer I can give is just to really recount the response the book has had among companies. So, I've spoken at Google, I've spoken at PayPal, I've spoken at Time Inc. at management meetings. People are suffering from the overwork ethic that is so prevalent. It is not scalable, and it doesn't allow for any type of reasonable lifestyle, life for that matter. So, managers themselves, presidents of companies, CXO-level executives, all want employees who can do the absolute maximum with the least input. It's in their best interest. I view it as beneficial for these ideas to actually reach more people because it reaches a certain critical mass.
So I'm getting from that your message to me is to tell the world about it.
Yes.
I suspect you may have a vested interest.
I do have a vested interest, but I wrote this book essentially for a dozen
your grandchildren.
Right, to leave a legacy of some respect, and because I looked at my classmates, half a dozen of my best friends who were very stable financially, but were absolutely poor from a time standpoint, and they were miserable as a result of it. And I think that that's a very unaddressed demographic. There are millions of people who are doing and have done what they were told they should do, and are on some level suffering because of it. And I hope that the book shows that they're not alone in feeling the way they do, and that there are alternatives, and you don't have to sacrifice income in order to embrace them. It's not that you have to be a home-based dog sitter making, $20,000 or 10,000 pounds a year to have time. You don't have to make that sacrifice.
Yeah, and of course, it's no fun being brilliant unless the whole world knows that.
Right, of course.
It's always an incentive. Okay, so one last question. Pretend I haven't read the book. I like my job. Do I still need the book?
If you like your job and you're satisfied with the volume.
I like, chatting to friends in the day when I should be working, and
that's absolutely
reading emails when I know that I'm supposed to be doing something else.
I think the book is useful for, let's just say that you've decided you enjoy all the components of your work, but in two cases, let's say you want to reduce the volume, it would be useful. If you simply want to get more output, more results for the time that you're already putting in, it's also I think it's a very good book to look at. It's a collection of case studies. It's not me. So I think for each person, you'll be able to find at least 2 or 3 tweaks, hacks that really allow you to improve not only the results that you get at work, but your quality of life. So I think it's worthwhile. I mean, it's a cheap book. A lot of research was put into it. I wrote it with the intention of never writing another book, so I didn't leave anything out. It's not an upsell.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm biased. I'm the author, but I think it's worthwhile. It's not Tolstoy, it's not Shakespeare, but I do think it's a useful book for people to read, and I think it's timely.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.